Well, I was born and raised in Saigon. That's where I was born and raised there. And I would live there for all my life until the day I left my homeland to go to the refugee camp.
Can you tell us about your childhood experience? What was it like?
Well, overall, I have a wonderful childhood. My father's unfortunately he lost his sight just a week before I was born. So he's pretty much home with us, looking after us. While my mother would be the one who's be the breadwinner, who provide the nurture for us. So that's where Dad is. Dad is pretty much a babysitter. He looked after me and my brothers. Overall, we wasn't born and raised in a very wealthy family, but it's a very loving family. I was raised in a very healthy environment. Surrounded me is all my cousins, my aunt, uncles, and all my cousins. So I was, I think it's a very, very happy childhood that I have. I don't have, it's not like this. I don't have a lot of stuff like kids these days. They have a lot of toy stuff. Most of the stuff that we have during growing up, we just kind of improvised. But to me, it's nothing wrong with them because every child around me we all improvise. But anyway, we grew up very healthy and very happy.
So what did your parents do for a living?
Well, my mother is self-employed. She's selling fish in the morning in the market, and then she's coming back home for lunch, and then after that she's selling vegetable around town. While my father was, even though he was blind, but he's help her whatever she can. Like people do hire him to do some physical heavy labor work, doing digging, all that stuff, and that's what he do that. And then he also doing some other work like selling a lot of 649s around towns, just to make an extra living to help mom out. This is only a time during the time I was a kid myself until I was about 10 years old. That's when I started to help out with the family, to help mom with selling vegetables and stuff around town to help mom out.
And how many brothers and sisters do you have?
I have two oldest brothers, two youngest brother, and youngest sisters. But when I left, my younger sister is only a couple years old. But anyway, that's what we have. I did lost an older sister, but that's what time before I was born. So I don't know much about her. I heard about her, but I don't know much about her. I heard that my sister was born my oldest brothers, and then it's her. But then unfortunately, mom and dad lost her when she was 3 years old during her, during those high fever chicken pox that they couldn't afford to get medication to help her out. So anyway, they lost her then. But that was a couple of years before I was born myself.
Can you tell me about your life growing up in Saigon?
Well, life growing up in Saigon, it's what can I say? It's a very simple life. So as in growing up, it's usually girls are much more heavy duty than boys. Meaning, most of the works in the household it usually girls. And since I'm the oldest, not compare older between my two older brothers, but I'm the oldest girl in the family. So most of the works I usually is hand on to help mom, cooking, cleaning, babysit my brothers. Pretty much anything at all. It usually is I'm the one who have to carry it on. And then so when I own enough to go to work and earn a living and help mom out, so pretty much it's just me. my brothers, I mean, they do work here and there, but I don't ever record them to help mom and dad anything. But that boy, right? That's just part of the cultures, I guess. Usually, it's more heavier on girls.
Bring me that moment before April 1975. Where were you, and what did you do at the time?
Well, before April the 30th, 1975, I would live in Saigon. So even though during the war, the time there, those are the war zone time, but I don't actually see any war zone because I live right there in Saigon, that's the main capital. So once the communists took over the Saigon, that's the end of it. So that's the only time. So that's about 3 days before the 30th. I mean, you see a lot of commotion. You can see a lot of worry into the adult faces. You know, I mean, I often seen my mom and dad whispering to each other, and breathe out the sign of worriness. But they don't tell us. They don't tell us what they worry about. I guess we're too young, or they don't want to trouble. But you can see a lot of them and whispering and all that stuff. But that's and then you can see them on TV too about the wars here. But of course. I was too young yet. I don't pay very much attention to that kind of thing. You know, I'm only between 75, I'm only 14, 15. And as a 15 years old, I was quite naive with that age. I'm not like the 15 these day girls know much more than what I do. I was, at that time, I was, well, you know, you live in the teenager years. It's, you know, you just kind of go along without a friend, whatever your friend does, you should do it. And I don't worry about that kind of things until the day that actually the 29th, that's when you hear a lot of airplane on top of your, on the city there. And then you hear a lot of bombing here and there, not where I live, but to the neighbor nearby where I live. And then you hear the adult talking about who dies and all that stuff. But at that time, I'm still quite naive with that war things. I'm just not quite sure it's exactly what is the war is and what is the meaning of that. I'm not really fully understand of that. I'm sorry. Maybe I should know a little bit more, but I just wasn't into that kind of thing, I guess. So we don't, you know, like mom and dad never talk to us about it, right? It's just one of those things that they think it's adult stuff and it's grow up stuff, and so they talk among themselves, they whisper among themselves. So as kids, we don't hear about them, and we know that they worry, but I don't even know what they were worried about. Isn't that silly of me? But anyway, it's just that.
And what happened on the 30th? Would you describe your journey on that day?
Well, on the 30th, I remember there's a lot of commotion in the town in the little neighborhood where I live. Now people just running everywhere. I don't even know where they're running, but we're running everywhere. I remember that days, a couple of my friends were telling me, "Hey, Kimmy, let's go to a couple of those buildings where the United States military, they used to be there. So, but they left now. So they leave it all stuck there. So let us go there, see what we can take from them." So I went there, but I mean, all my friends were taking all the stuff. I'm just looking for some clean book. Silly me, just book, just so I can, you know, I love to smell the clean, the brand new book. When you open, you can smell the clean of it. That's me. So I took a whole bunch of them. And I didn't know that my parents were looking for me during those trouble time. Me and a couple of my friends just went there and looked. So by the time I get home, I carrying about this stack of those just books. I don't know why, but anyway, just book that I bring home with me. And I noticed that mom was she was yelling at me because for making her worry about us and anyways, and she should take them and trash them on one side and anyway, so we all went to the church. We have a big Catholic church there, but mom and dad keep believing, okay, let's all go to the church, and if they bomb us there, then at least we die in God's house. So, to me, okay, that, it makes sense. But I still don't know who bombing us and communists. What communists? Who's communists? I don't know. I don't know anybody. To me, it's just one of those things that it's almost like the invisible's enemy that you don't even know what they look like. I remember I even asked my dad. I said, Dad, what is the communists look like? And Dad just said to me, well, they look like a little monkey walking on the street. So when I go out on the street, I keep looking for somebody look with the monkey face. But of course, there was no monkey face around there. But you know how that is. It's just it seems silly. Now at the time that I sometimes I often thought about it, that's the thing. It's kind of silly, but at that time, that's what it is. Grow up is it's kind of really protecting us, shelter us from all that's new that they don't want us to know. And so we should grow up just, don't even know. And sometimes I even remember my mom and dad, not my mom and dad, but my grandmother, my mother. Sometimes he would scare us, say, don't go anywhere around, don't just wandering around the neighborhood because there's a boogedy woman will get you. So I asked my grandmother, what the boogedy woman look like? She would say, well, she have really tiny little eyes and she have no teeth and her back is all bent out and she look really rudgy lookings. And so I was thinking of somebody really nasty looking, but she just tried to scare us so we don't wandering around. We just kind of stay in the town where we are. That's the main idea. But for us, it scared us because I thought, okay, if I wandering around other neighborhood, the boogedy woman may get me. But the reality is there was no boogedy woman. That's just the way that grow up. They kind of make up some story just to kind of shelter us, I guess. So therefore, I don't know very much about the war, to be honest with you, until the day that the communists took over. And then by then, even by then, you see the grow up is still very worried because you have to remember my mother and father left the north and come to the south in 1954. So under the big boat, we call that's the Catholic, like I guess when they signed the agreement in 1954, they said that okay, you have half an hour. If anybody wants to leave the north and go to the south, you have half an hour. And there was a big boat, and I believe this is according to my father was telling me the story that the big boats were from the Catholic villages, and they said, okay, anybody Catholic or non-Catholic, if they want to, you can get on the boat and we'll take you to the south. So my grandfather, which is my fathers, took all of his brothers, all of his children's and grandchildren, if he have any then, get on that boat. So we skipped the north to the south. Because of that, the communists consider us as traitor. Consider not me, I mean my parent as traitor and my grandfather as traitor because you left your homeland, you come to the south. So therefore, my mother and father have a lot to worry about because now they wondering what would the communists going to treat traitor like themselves. How are they going to punish them? So there's a lot in their mind, but they don't share that with us. That's what the grow up were talking among themselves, worrying about that stuff. But as a kid, we don't get shared by all that information. We know that they were worried, but we have no idea what they worry about.
Do you feel that your family are at risk because they're coming from the north?
Well, because I didn't know what was going on, so do I feel there was risk? Not me. Remember now, I don't know much about that. But my mom and dad certainly was. My aunt and uncle certainly was. Because the rumor, before the communists took over, the rumor is that that the communist is going to the communist is going to punish those people who betrayed them. So my mom and dad and my grandfather, but unfortunately my grandfather is passed away a couple of years before the communist took over. So that chapter has closed. But for my mom and dad, yes, they were worried, they were concerned. So there's a lot of unknown things that scare you, because they didn't know how they're going to be treated. And for us, how they're going to treat them, and then from us as a kid, how are they going to treat us? So it was a worry for mom and dad. But they don't come and tell us all about it. They don't call me and say, come here and I'll tell you. They don't tell me. So I grown up. I mean, I know they were worried, and I have a feeling that the future is going to be different. It's going to be I don't know how to describe them. It's going to be it's difficult, but how difficult that is, I have no idea. Now during this time, I'm only 15 at the time. 14 at my time, because I was born 1961, so I'm only 14 years old. I mean, 14 years old at that time is completely different than 14 years old now. They know a lot of stuff now than during the time I grew up. I'm very and what you call very naive and very. It's just very carefree person. You know what I mean? I don't worry about that kind of things, unfortunately.
So on April 30th, when it happened, can you tell me more during that day?
Well, on April 30th, once the communists took over, and there was a big announcement in there that the white government has surrender themselves. So now we know we are so the communists now took over the whole country now. So now we know that. So there was a lot of uncertainty amongst. I mean, there's a lot of people have left the neighborhood where we are. Where did they go? I don't know. Rumor has it that some have gone to the airplane and they took them somewhere else or whatever. Anyway, a lot of people had missing, but people are still living there. Well, we live there and we make the best of what we can, and then of course during that time there's every couple of weeks, and then we heard about this different rumors that okay, now they're going to exchange the dollar, the currency, so all that stuff. But now again, it is all grow up stuff. To me, they're grow up stuff. So I would just all we know is that now we just have to be. And I remember that day there, Dad would collect all any documents, any books, any pictures, anything that we have from the previous government. We would burn them down because we didn't want to have any evidence in our house. It's kind of tie us with the previous government. So I know that Dad would make us burn everything down, and I can see a lot of emotion in there, a lot of worry and a lot of what if stuff going on in there. But myself personally, I just go along with whatever the grow up do, So we now, we still going on with the same old. Life certainly seems change. When you walk on the street, you see people, not just my own parents, but I see other grow up too. There's a lot of change in the neighborhood. You see a lot of people start to taking out the flag from the communist flags. Suddenly they just have them, or maybe they did have them before and we don't even know. And they hung them around their houses. And then so our grow up, which is a lot of worry on our parents, my parents and other grow ups. But for kids, for me and my friends, it's still normal for us. Uh, that's as far as I remember. Yeah, I don't see any change in there. Now we don't know which school are we going to and go on with all that stuff because right now the government is trying to create the new government. So there's a lot of stuff that's that the unknown and I don't have very much memory with that day there. All I know is just a lot of commotion going on in there. A lot of people worrying, but as a kid, I wasn't worrying because I don't even know what am I supposed to worry about.
Did your parents decide to leave the city immediately, or they decided to stay a little longer?
No, during that time, a lot of our relatives who were in the Tây Ninh, which is about 100 kilometers from us, staying at our house because because their area had been surrendered by the communists, so they kind of moved into the city. So they stay at our house. So our house, we have at least 35 people live in the little house. Anyway, we make do, right? But there's our relative, our cousins, and so but we make do. And then we have our relative from Pleiku, which is about, I don't know, I can't remember. I don't know exactly how many kilometers, but it was about 2 hour drive from 2 hour flight from where I live to there. Anyway, they all come there, and so I have a lot more cousins now to play with, so that's what it is. It's all the commotion going on in our house, with only one kitchen and one bathroom, one toilet there. So we just have to make do with all that people, and so all that commotion going on just for about 2 or 3 weeks before finally they moving back to where my relative were moving back to where they was, and try to start a new life with whatever they have. But no, my parents never tried to leave the city because we have nowhere to go. Where do we go? We have no money. We have no place to go, so we just stay where we are. And just go with the flow, I guess.
Were you allowed to roam around the city during that time?
Oh yes. There is a curfew at night time, but that's 10 o'clock. But during the day, yes, you're allowed to go around neighbor. But at that time, there's a lot of dead body. There's a lot of. I remember my girlfriend and I. We went. Not my girlfriend, but my cousin and I. We went out to we call the street just about a couple hundred meter from where my house is, where my mom and dad's house is. So just to walk around to see the neighborhood, and we see a lot of tarp cover on top of something, and we didn't even know what it is. So we walk on top of them, and it feels kind of soft. So anyway, somebody said that was dead people underneath them, but they couldn't clear the body fast enough, so they get the tarp paper to put on top to cover them up, so it won't scare us. But anyway, there's a lot of them on the street there. People died from what I have no idea, but all I know there was a lot of military American people too. I heard that their body was underneath it, but the tarp paper would cover them. So anyway, that's enough for me. So me and my cousin get back to town because we just kind of scared about that kind of thing. So we just get back to our town and we just don't leave the neighborhood. It just scares us, right? Because it's just all that stuff going on. Stuff that we never seen them before. All my life, from the time I was born until the time they took over the city, I never see that kind of things. Because I live right there in Saigon, which is the capital of the South. You don't see that kind of thing, right? Unlike other people who live in the rural area, they probably see that and experience that, but not me. I don't see anything like that until the day that it's actually happened.
When you see the bodies on the streets,
No,
from your perspective, have you ever feared for your life?
no, I didn't see the body. Remember, I said the tar paper were covered up, so I would step on top of them. I know that they would feel soft under our feet, but we walk on top of them. So after people were saying that was dead people underneath them, that's it. We took off and then we leave home. Am I was scared for my life? No, I don't. What am I supposed to fear for? I don't even know what's going on in there. So I know that the communists took over. But who's the communist and what are they going to do with us? All that stuff, I don't know. So I know fear. No, fear, I don't fear. But I know that there's something changed. That there's something tragically changing in our society. And you know, in the neighborhood, in wherever I go, I see the change in there. I mean, I see the people live in fear, people worry, but people worry about what, and then what are they fear of? I have no idea because no one shared with us. Remember now, we've been sheltered with that kind of information. So I know I wasn't fear for my life. I don't even know what I fear of until you actually grow up, you know, as you get older and then you understand life a little better. But fear for my life, no, I can't see that I would ever experience fear for my life during that time when they first took over. Because I didn't know what I fear. What should I be fear of?
Since the government took over the city during that time, do you ever feel being monitored by them?
No, that's no. I don't think I would. That's I would be that important person that they would be. I mean, I heard that people, that government have monitoring different people, but I assume that those people must be important. Those people must done something that's kind of make the government fear of them. So that's why they monitor, but not us, not me as a kid. No, I never worry about that kind of things. All I worry is if I'm going to have job, am I going to have food to eat? That's all I will worry about. But no, for me to be worried about people, no, and fortunately, no, I'm not. I have to say that.
How about your parents?
My parents, well, again, they don't share that with me, but I know deep down, I know my father was, because I often see him sit there and his thought is so far away, is in a very deep thought. Although he won't share it with me, he won't tell me, or maybe because I didn't ask him. But I know he just, I know he will worry, and I know so his mom. But I guess I didn't ask them what would he worry about and ask what is there to be worried about. So they never shared it with us. Well, I'm just a kid. I mean, I don't know what should I ask them for. But I know there's a lot of whispering among themselves every time, I just suddenly coming home and walk right into the conversation when they were whispering, and then they stop when they see me come in. Then I kind of look at dad and look at mom, but they're not going to share that with you. You know that they're not going to worry about you for that. So just kind of go along with them, I guess, and whatever the adults going to do, that's what they're going to do. But we as a kid, we're not allowed to questioning our parents, that kind of thing. You know, you're not allowed to say, tell me what is your worry. We're not allowed to do that. Not like here, kid here, they're allowed to say things like that, but not when I grow up. We're not allowed to you know, we're not allowed to speak until we've been asked. But other than that, you're not allowed to ask your parents, that kind of thing. No. So so I grew up. It's kind of, and I think about it, I kind of really naive though, because I never asked that kind of thing, or should I, you know, should I wondering all that stuff? But I guess how could you go about to wondering something that you don't even know? What are you wondering about? You understand what I'm saying? It's kind of hard to, you know, wondering, Mom, what are you worried about? And it's just like one of those things that adults don't talk about them. It's the same with me here. I know that now my kids want to know about me leaving my homeland, and how what made you decide to do that, Mom, when you know that there's so much dangers ahead of you, and how come you never told me about it? And you know what I told them? Because you never ask. You never asked me. And this is one of those things that you don't just say, honey, sit here, I want to tell you about what happened to me from the time that I left my mother and father home and come here. You don't just come out and tell them that story. This is something that it's in you. It's kind of stay with you until somebody open it up, and then you tell them. But you just, you know, and of course my kids were too young yet. Now they're older now. My oldest is 38, so she's older now. So now she's curious about that kind of thing. So every now and then she asks those kind of things. Then that's when I tell her, and then, you know, so to her it's fascinating, but it's also it's very brave to her. But to me, you know, well, that's just surviving. That's just life.
Was it difficult to speak about your story to your child?
Yes, it is. It is because it's a lot of detail. It's a lot of preparation too. You know, it's to plan to leave your mother and father home, knowing that you never see them again, and knowing that 99.99% that you're going to die. It's not an easy task. It's not something that, oh yeah, I'm prepared, I'm ready. It's not that. But I mean, deep down, even though when I talk about leaving, I know my father 100% against it. Now, Mom doesn't. She's not crazy about it, but she doesn't stop me either. But she doesn't have any thought into it. She just kind of leave it to me to decide it. So, but Dad told me. I mean, Dad and I, for the last night we were there, that I was there. I know my dad and I talk about it, and Dad said to me, honey, you know that you're going to die on that boat, right? If you leave, because you physically you're not a very strong girl. You know, you get sick if you just stay in the sun for 2 hours. You go home and you get sick for a whole week. And here you are leaving. You know, you are in the open sea, in the tiny little fishing boat. You know that you're going to die. But somehow, deep down, there's something inside of me telling me, no, I'm going to survive. I don't know how. I don't know how. So I told my dad, I said, Dad, you often taught me anyway, that everything is happened for a reason. And everything that happened in your life, God already planted it. You have to believe in that. And I do believe in that. Everything that happened in everybody's life is God already planted it. Bad or good is already planted it. So I said, if tomorrow that I decide to leave, and if tomorrow that I'm going to I'm going to die in that open sea, in that South China Sea, on the boat, then if I'm going to stay here with you, Dad, stay right here with you, and if you hang on to me as tight as you can, I'm still going to die because I was meant to be. It's God's will. So, of course, my dad crying because he just apologized that he couldn't provide me with a better life, that I could be his, and But like I said to Dad, don't apologize. Don't apologize. I'm so grateful to be your daughter, and I am. But I said, here's a chance for me to leave, and if God help me, and if I make it, I can find a job. And I don't know what kind of job can I do. Now I'm only, what I'm talking about, 19 years old. I don't know what I can do, but I said, I'll do whatever I can. I do whatever I can, Dad, to find a job, to earn some money and help you. Send the money home to help you and Mom, because you really need it. Now life is now doing those, we're talking about what? I left in 81, so that's 6 years after the company took over. Life are much harder now. Jobs are so far between. I work 2 jobs. I work at the a knitting machine, which is I'm making sweater so they can ship them and send it over to Canada, to different country. So I make good money. But at nighttime when I come home, I also roll extra cigarettes to make extra money. It's only a few bucks, but still a few dollars more that I could make and help my mom and dad. And I'm not a lazy worker. I'm always very a hard worker, and I work. But it's just job is just so far and few between, and it's just so hard. I work 4 months and I only get paid for 1 month. I worked till, like this is example, I worked until April and I get paid for January because of the backlog for their financing. So that's how they can afford to pay me. And each month they allowed to give us, I allowed to buy another 1 kg of sugars and maybe a couple of grams of MSGs and a couple, maybe 10 kg of rice. That will be extra on top of your salary. And those stuff is help. It's help for my mom and dad. Not much, but it's help, right? So I do whatever I can to help, to help them, because the life now, 6 years later, oh my God, it's very difficult. My mom is working hard. She's a very hard worker. She's always have been, but still raising 6 children and a handicapped husband. That's hard. That's hard for her. So as the oldest girl, I did the best I can. But here's the chance. So when my husband, at the time he was just my boyfriend, he was talking about leaving the homeland on the boat. Nobody ever talked to me about that. So when he mentioned it, when he mentioned it to me, and I said to him, but I have no money. Living on something like this, it costs money, and I don't have any. And he said, don't worry about it. As long as you're willing to go with me, I'll take care of it. And so he did. He took care of it. He told me just the day before that we left, he sent his friend come over with a telegram to me. Actually, the letter telling me in there to tell me, he's make it very short. He just tell me that tomorrow, meet me tomorrow at 7:00. It's time. That's all. He just make it very short. So that was his best friend, drove the motorcycle all the way from Vũng Tàu to me. That took at least a couple hours driving the motorcycle down. Anyway, so I got them. And then at noontime, my sister-in-law came back there with another note from him, from my boyfriend again. And then say the same story. And then, to end all that day, so that was Monday. And I remember all that day, from the minute I got the letter from him, all the way until the next morning, I didn't eat. I drink water, that's about it. But I didn't eat anything because something just feeling in me. I wasn't hungry. But it's all that thought going through my mind, all that emotion going through my mind, just saying, so here's a chance. Here's a chance for me to help my parents. I can turn against and say, no, I'm not leaving because I'm not going to die. But is there another opportunity come along later on? Probably not. Probably not. So I thought really deeply about it. 95% I for sure that I'm going to leave. But the other 5, just thinking of leaving, never see my parent again, never see my brother and sister again. Death doesn't scare me. If I have to die, oh well, it's okay. Life wasn't worth living anyway, so it's okay. But just thought of leaving my parents, it wasn't easy. It was very, very hard.
That decision for you to leave. So the decision that you had to leave, was it your personal decision? Is that correct?
That was my personal decision, yes. What I was looking at that time, as I was looking at that time, I wasn't thinking about, okay, if we left, then him and I will get married and then we'll have a better life. It wasn't anything about me and him. It was about, here's a chance for me to help my parents. If I make it. Even those 99.99%, I know I'm going to die. I know that. But there's a 1% that deep down inside of me, I know I can make it. I don't know how, but I know I can make it. 1% out of 100. Now think of that. These days, 50% of 100 is still very slim chance. But 1% of 100, I keep clinging on that, and I, all that night, I couldn't sleep. So I remember my little nephew, he was 2 years old at the time. He's very cranky and he was very attached to me. So I have to keep holding him to put him to sleep on my shoulder. And all that night, I carrying him, walking back and forth in front of my mother and father's house. And I keep talking. I have a conversation with God, my God. I kept asking him, I said, God, I said, if it's your will, if you help me, let me live so I can help my parents. And that's all I was thinking about. I wasn't thinking about me, oh, wow, I can go to live in Canada. What Canada? I don't even know what Canada is. I think that's just a name that people make up. I don't even know it exists. I know United States because you hear a lot about United States, but you don't hear anything else except United States, right? But I said, if you help me and if I live, I'm going to, get onto the other side there, just to make the other side. And I said, I'm going to find a job, whatever that I can do. I won't sell myself. I'm not going to go that low because that's against my principle. I will not do that. But I said, I will find, it doesn't matter if I have to clean, if I have to pick shit, excuse me, but if I have to do that just to earn a living, to help my parents, I would, 100%. That's just to show you how much I love my parents. And I'm willing to sacrifice, even with my own life. I would. I would, yeah.
Can you tell me when did you start to decide to leave Saigon?
Well, like I say, my husband only decided just a month before we left. During the time that him and I just to get to know each other.
When was it?
That was 1981. 1981. So, we only know each other since, I say, September of 1980. 1980. That's when the first time we met each other. Anyway, and then during that time, he lived in Vũng Tàu and I live in Saigon, so we just contact each other by letter, just letter. But anyway, I never talked to him about leaving because I thought it was impossible. You know, none of us have any money, so it's kind of impossible for us to think about that kind of thing. But for some reason, he already created something in his mind that he would want to leave. So he was talking about for us, you know, to live in the. He's kind of just telling me a little bit riddle here and there. He said, "Have you ever thinking of someday we're going to live in the far land and you know, as husband and wife, and then we're going to have our own children and all that stuff?" And I look at him and I wonder, oh, come on, you know. I said, you know, you and I are so much different because I'm a Catholic girl and he's not Buddhist, but he believes in his ancestors. So I said, and he's the oldest son in his family. His family would never allow him to marry a Catholic girl. I know that. So therefore, I didn't think, I wasn't already falling in love with him. No, I'm very disciplined in that. I won't allow myself to fall in love with somebody when I know that there's no future for me. So to me and him, I think him as a friend, just a friend to get to know each other. That's all. But I wasn't deeply in love with him. But I guess with him, he's kind of fall for me for some reason. And he fall for me, and he know the obstacle that he's going to meet with his family, that his family will not allow him to marry a Catholic girl. So therefore, he planned to leave the homeland so he can fulfill the wishes that he want to. He have to be a Catholic to marry me. That's the must. Because I said, I'm not going to have children and start fighting about which religion should I raise my children in. When I already decided that it's going to be a Catholic kid. I'm not going to have any other way. So for us to him to fulfill that dream, he had to leave his our homeland. So he started to plan with that, but he wouldn't even tell me about that. So therefore, he only gave me one day. He just worried that if he tell me too far ahead in the road, I may talk to somebody, and then. Because everything have to be in secret now. Remember, we can't just blab about the leaving, because if the government know that, you know that you're going to get arrested, right? So therefore, everything have to be in secret. So that's why he only let me know one day before, with just 2 letters that he sent home for me. So I have to decide very quickly for me to leave or stay. So I decided to left with him. And you know, with him, I already decided. I said, if we make it to the other land, of course, I'm going to marry him, and of course, we're going to have a family. There's no question about that. If we make it to another land. And you see, God's will, we did. We make it. It wasn't easy. It took us 8 days and 9 nights on the boat to get from Vũng Tàu to Plobidom. And I can't remember exactly how many days after that, but I just remember one night. I don't know what time was it, but I know it was dark. It was very, very dark. And there was another boat coming toward our boat. Anyway, a couple of men was stand there in the boat there. They were talking. They said, "Oh, there's a boat coming toward us, or maybe we can get help from them." And then as the boat getting closer, and then they said, "Holy moly, there's only 5 of them. They must be a pirate." So anyway, it turned out it was pirate. It was the fishermen from Thailand, but it was pirate. They have no intention of helping us. But there was only, I think, 5 or 6 of them, young men. I think in the boat, early 20, maybe 25 top. Anyway, there were 5 of them in this tiny little boat. And I remember, so now during this time, I was underneath the top tarp paper because now they cover us up. I was on top of the boat because I all I did was vomiting a lot, so I couldn't be down the bottom of the boat. It was too many people down there, and they wouldn't let me down there because I was too sick to get down there. So I was on top of the boat. So they get the tarp paper, which is the black tarp paper, and cover us up so that nobody can see that there was people in there. But anyway, I heard that the one or two young men were saying, "Give us gold, gold, gold." So anyway, some of our men said, "Oh, they want gold." They were talking in our language. They want gold. So some of them took out their chains and their rings and give it to them. And then they said, "Okay, give me your compass, the compass." So what they were hoping for was once they took the compass, then the next morning, they're going to see us again because without the compass, we can't go anywhere. We're just going around and around, and then the next morning, they're going to have more of their boat coming to help them to take over our boat. But for some reason, our boat keep drifting away, and we drift it until we bump into a huge big boat. I believe it was the boat that they said they drill oil out there. Now I was kind of half sick, so this is I only heard what to in my ear there that they during that time there. So there was the boat quite big. Like I can open up the top now. I can look it up, and the boat's huge big up there. And a couple of the guys were down there were talking to people that in my boat, and some of our people from my boat can speak the English, so they were telling them that we lost and we don't have any compass. Some of the pirates took our compass, so we don't have any. So we need food for our people, and we need compass. So they said, "Okay, we'll give you some food, but you have to give us some gold so we can sell you the compass. And then you can take only about 2 more hours for you to get to Palabidom." Because they're so high up, they can see Palabidom so close. But our boat's so low down there, we can't see them. So they said, "You keep going straight down there with the compass here. You keep going to get down there for 2 hours. You will get to the boat, to the Palabidom, which is the island that belonged to Malaysia." But it took us 2 days to get there, because I guess the storm was still big that time. Well, we left home in June, and June month is usually stormy month, right? So anyway, so the storm kind of keep pounding us back, and then but anyway, it took us 2 days to get to Palabidom. Now, before we get to Palabidom, let's go back to the time there. 2 days after we left our homeland, the motor, the engine of the boat broke, and the what did you call the fan, the pump? I'm sorry, the pump that's supposed to pump the water out, it broke. So now the water keep going to our boat. So the men have divided the job among themselves. Some of the men is scoop the water out with whatever we have to scoop the water out, and then other is fixing the motor. So anyway, somehow I don't know how long it take them, but anyway, they finally fixed the motor, and then the pump is working. So then our boat continued to keep drifting towards the out of Vietnam during that time. But the storm, the day that we left there, the day that we left our homeland, there were 3 boats supposed to left the same day with us. But the other 2 called off because they said there's no way anybody could survive in that storm season, because that was the wave was 7 meters high. And they said there's no way any boat could survive in that stormy day. So, but the guy that's kind of organized our boat said, "We have no way to stay. We can't stay here because the military will know that we're leaving, and everything is already set. So we have to leave, regardless, whatever it is, regardless, we have to leave." So they left. The other 2 boats stayed home, but our boat left. And it's true. We got to the big ocean sea. The storm was quite high, and that's how our motor was broke, and that's how our pump it broke too. But anyways, the man fixed it, and we keep moving, keep moving.
What happened after that? To where it leads?
Well, a boat keep dripping until we get to Palabidong. The funny part is, the Palabidong, between Palabidong, there, and I don't know how, maybe 50 meters, there's a lot of pointy rock surrounded Palabidong. So there's no way any boat can get directly to the island there. So normally when they see the boats about 50 or 100 meters away, they would make the noise, the sound, to know that there are boat people coming. So they would send the small little boat come out there and start taking people in, 2 or 3 by 1, just tiny little boat, so they can avoid those sharply point rock. But for some reason, to me today until now, I still think it's a miracle. For some reason, my boat, the fishing boat that we left, come directly right to the island. The people who was guarding those islands, suddenly they was guarding, and then they look around, and here is our boat right there. We got right there, and that's what they said. It's a miracle because no boat ever get in there. Without the pointy rock will hurt them, because there's a lot of pointy rock, right? And they will hit your boat, so your boat couldn't go in. But for some reason, my boat get right in there. And the day that the boat supposed to leave, there were only 46 people paid for the trip to get there. But by the time we got there, the head count was 86. 86 people on that tiny little fishing boat. From the 65 years old man to the 3-month-old baby, and we all survived. We all survived. To me, that is a miracle right there.
What happened next?
Well, when we get there, that was 2:00 in the morning. Anyway, they notify the UN. So there's some UN representative come out, and then they start doing head count. And then we start to, first of all, they feed us, some of them cook some instant noodle, and they give each of us tiny little, just tiny little thing, because they said, if you eat too much, you're going to get hurt. So they give us tiny little bit just to keep us alive. Because of those 8 days and 9 nights I was on the boat, and I didn't eat anything, nor did I drink anything, because all I did was sick. So therefore, my leg was paralyzed. I couldn't walk. So I remember there were 2 young men, one on each side of me, kind of drag me to take me, but drag me out and then get me on the pavement there for the UN to start doing the head count. And there was Malaysia police there just to kind of keep us, security, that's all. But anyway, there's a lot of boat people there, people that work in there, and the UN. So anyway, we start getting our name out and all that stuff. And then we start to disclose if anybody bring any gold, you have to disclose them. Some have, and then they start to give us the location where should we can go to start to stay, where the tent that we'd stay in there. So it took a couple hours for that to happen, and then I finally got located to the F area, which is nearby the mountain, nearby the mountain there. So that's where I was. My family and I stayed there for 4 months. And during that 4 months there, I go to school. I go to school in the daytime to learn English because I didn't have any English at all whatsoever. I also brought with me, so my husband and I mean, at the time my boyfriend and I was there, so he brought his brother He was 9 years old, and then I also brought with me my nephew, who was 5. So we raised those 2 boys as our own kid, and then after years after that, we have our own children. Now, for my nephew, it wasn't planned for me to raise him up. His mother and father were supposed to come with us, but for the last minutes, there was some change of plan. I guess I don't know what's going on, but anyway, they never show up. So we end up with my nephew and my brother-in-law. So we raised those 2 boys.
Do you recall the name of the camp?
That's what they call Palabidom. Paulabidong. Palabidom. It belongs to Malaysia, but this is the island, right? They call Palabidom. I don't know if that's still active or not, but anyway, during the time we were there, I believe there was 17,000 people were there. This is only what people tell me. I don't have a head count on that, but anyway, the people say that 17,000 people will live there. So we lived there for 4.
From your observation, what was it like?
What was like? What like? The island?
Can you describe what was it like in the camp?
Well, the camp was built by the immigrant, of course, the boat people. So the bed were made by those branches from the tree. So it was very hard to sleep in because it's just a branch. There's some sharp branches there. So some people lived before us. They have bought with themselves some blanket, all that stuff, and then they other have bring the money, and then they can buy themselves some stuff that they can make themselves comfortable there. But anyway, it's just a tent, it's just a normal little, what would you call? The little, I don't know what to call. Hut, a little hut maybe. Then not secure door, but I mean there's a door we improvise them with the door, but I mean it's not like nothing secured or down there. But anyway, it's just temporary place for us to live there, right? Why during that time we got interviewed by different government agency, and then for us to that's the time there for us to learn the language. Plus, we also have to do community work. Some is cleaning garbage, some cleaning branches. There's all kind of activity going on there. But for my focus, I was mainly study English. Because I didn't have any, so I have to start right from the bottom, which is ABC to 1, 2, 3. Anyway, and our own people, our own.
Was it difficult for you at the time with learning English?
Was it difficult at the time? It's a funny thing. English was also always my worst subjects during the time I was in my homeland. Because I could never comprehensive the language at all during the time I was in Vietnam. I guess because I wasn't have any interest learning speak other people's language, I guess. So I couldn't comprehensive no matter how much I try. But once I get to the refugee camp, for some reason, I don't know what it is, for some reason, whatever I learn, it stick with me. I don't know what it is. It's just whatever it is. It's just I learn very quickly. But now remember, this is our own people who are teaching us, Vietnamese people. So and I learned very quick. I go to school twice a day. One class in the morning, then I come home for lunch, and then I cook lunch and feed my families, and then I go back to school again in the afternoon. Every day, 7 days a week, I would do that, just so I can get some, English speaker, English in me, because I do believe that if whichever country that I'm going to live, I have to speak the language. So therefore, I would determine to learn the language. How well? Well, I don't know. I did the best I can. That's what I was quite determined to learn the language.
Kim, so you're mentioning, you described earlier about the camp, what it was like, and then moving on. Can you bring back to where, actually, can you move to where, when you decided about to leave for Canada?
When I decided to leave for Canada, well, actually, during the camp there's a process for you to come to Canada. First of all, like I say, I don't know anything about Canada. So my over in the refugee camp there, most of our Vietnamese people there would like to go to Australia because they figure that will be closer to our homeland, and the climates are kind of a little bit similar to what our homeland is. So that's the idea of country that most of our people were talking about. So we applied to go to Australia. The only thing that was stopping us was Australian people would take me and my husband, but they won't want the kid. They didn't want my nephew and my brother-in-law because they said those are not your children. Those are, one of them is your brothers and in-law, and the other one is your nephew. That's not your children. So we don't want them. We just want you. And to me, I was kind of shocked because I said, what is it? They are still my family. What do you mean you don't want them? They said, no, we only want you and your husband. And if you and your husband come to Australia, well, I think now if I remember correctly, I believe that they said they would give us acres of lands so we can start a farmer, because they have so much land there, but they don't have enough laborers. So they were starting out with acres of lands so we can start a farmer. But the only thing is they don't want the kids. And now, right away, I have to think of how could I live with myself if I don't take my nephew and my brother-in-law with me. I can't live with myself. No matter where I live, I could never be happy. I could never be happy. And then when a young kid like this, we're going to lose them. We'll never see them again. So I told the interviewer, I said, if you want us, me and my husband, then you want to take all four of us. If not, we're not interested. So we lost that chance to go to Australia. But it's okay. To me, that wasn't big loss because to me, that wasn't very human. It wasn't very humane at all to leave my brothers and nephews there. They said, well, to leave there in refugee camp, they consider as a minor. And then they were to disperse them into different foster family. But that's not the point. The point is, we never see them again. And how could I live with myself if I ever decide to leave them? So no, we wouldn't do that. So the second choice that we have would be United States, because that's all we heard about is United States and United States. So we applied for it, but because my husband didn't have any military background, so therefore we wasn't qualified. They're only looking for people with the military background, and my husband wasn't one of them. So therefore we're not qualified for that. So the only one left, well, I couldn't say only one left. We could have go to France, Germans, and Netherlands, any of those European country, they would take us, no problem. But then the three big countries that in the refugee camp that everybody's talking about is Canada, United States, and Australia. That's the three big countries. So the last third one there would be Canada. So we applied to go to Canada. And of course, they took our application and they said, okay, we're going to call tomorrow, anybody who put in an application is going to be called in for an interview. So the night before I got an interview, I talked to one of my neighbors. She lived in the hut right next to mine, and she speaks fluently in English. And I call her sisters. I said, sisters, could you please teach me just speak a few sentence in English, just so when I go to an interview, I can prove it. I try to prove to them that I'm willing to learn, just to my efforts, to try to show my efforts. So she taught me how to introduce myself and who introduced my family. And then one very important word was asking the interviewer to speak slowly because I don't understand English well. So those one night, that's all I learned, just enough to the basics. He said, that's just the basic. Anyway, so I was looking forward to it to go for an interview. So we got called in for an interview. It was the older gentleman, but I think he's from Scotland because he have a very heavy accent. Anyway, we say hello to him, and then he looked at me and then he said, what's your name? First, I couldn't understand what he was saying because of the heavy accents. So I looked at the translator, hoping she could help me out, and she wanted to, but the interviewer said, no. I want her to learn by herself. I don't want your help, so just leave it there. So he said again, what's your name? And again, I still didn't understand what he was saying. So I go back to the lesson that I should learn from my neighbor there. So I said to him, can you speak English slowly? Because I don't understand English very well. Can you please speak slowly? And then he looked at me with a big smile in his face and he said, very good, he said. And then he said, okay, what's your name? Well, now I know what it is. Now it's so clearly now. So I right away, I told him what my name. And I didn't wait for him to ask me who it is. I introduced my family to him because that's all I can remember at the time. I didn't want to wait too long and then in case I forgot. So I introduced him to him, and then he was smiling. And anyway, he asked me how old was I, and so anyway, I told him. And then he didn't say anything more. So he was very busy. We're looking through paperwork with a whole bunch of stack of paperwork. And then he's just a very gentleman, looked like a Santa Claus. He looked with the white hairs and beautiful face and very beautiful complexion, skin. It's just beautiful. Anyway, so before we leave, he gave me a whole bunch of paper, and he said, he tell the translator to tell her to keep these paper safe. These are very important paper. But I didn't know what it was. So the translator just told me to keep it safe. It's very important. So okay, I take them home. So we say goodbye, and then we left. So on the way back to our huts, we walked past by one of our friends, he came on the same boat with us. He asked us, how's the interview coming along? So I said, well, we got an interview, but we don't know if we got accepted or not. And he said, what do you mean? He didn't tell you? He said, no, he didn't say anything. He just gave us a whole bunch of paper to take them home and tell us to keep it safe. So he said, okay, give it to me. Give it to me and I see what it is. So I give it to him and he said, so he looked into them and then he said, well, you got it. There's a 4 airline ticket without anybody name. But that was the airline, Air Canada, the ticket to come to Canada, to come to Vancouver Then from Vancouver to Montreal, from Montreal to Halifax. It was in there, but I didn't know that. I said to him, no, you must misunderstand because we didn't got accepted yet. He didn't say, the old man didn't tell us that we got accepted. He said, well, I'm telling you right now, you got accepted because the airline ticket is in there. So he's supposed to be quite educated. So we said, okay, maybe he was right and we were wrong. So we just say, okay, whatever you say, then we just believe in you. So anyway, he said, do you know that you applied to go to Canada? I said, yeah, we applied to Canada. Do you know what Canada is? I said, no. He said, okay, so let me tell you about what Canada is. Canada is a very cold place, and people live in the little, he said, it's an icicle, just like this. They live in the house, but it's just like an icicle. And people, like they dig in the middle, so people live in there, in the little icicle box. And when you see people walk on the street, it's everything covered except their tiny little eye. So already I said, oh my gosh, it sounds really cold. Oh my God. I said to my husband, oh my God, I don't think I'm going to live there. Because that's too cold for me. I can't live like that. I'll die. He said, well, yeah, that's what Canada is. And I said to him, well, how many months of the year that cold? He said, 12 months of the year. Now I said to my husband, we're dead for sure, because I can't live like that. Anyway, so he said, so my husband said, well, we already applied for it, so now we have to go. We can't change our mind now. So anyway, I go home with a very frightful fear in me, knowing that those are the country that I'm going to be living in there. I mean, I know a lot of people live there, but no one ever told us that kind of story. So it was scary, right? So we left Florida. We transferred over to Sungay. Now it's another they call a refugee refugee camp. But now it's really inside the city, but it's locked. We can't just go out and in and out, so it's locked in there, and it's all refugee in there. We live in the little house, but in the house there are all kind of bunk bed, and my family we didn't have bunk bed because the bunk beds all been occupied by other refugees, so they give us we call it the mosquito net and the blanket so we can sleep on the floor. So that's okay. It's okay with that. So we stay there for 2 months. So during those 2 months, we did the same thing like we did with the refugee camp. We're going to study English and then do the community work, like cleaning the toilet, make sure that the washroom all nice and clean and all that stuff anyway, for 2 months. And then we left there on the 20th of December 1981, coming to Vancouver on the 21st of December 1981.
What was your first impression when you landed on Vancouver?
Well, now I'm very curious right now, so I want to see the igloo that my friend would describe them. So I got to the Vancouver airport. So the first thing first is I saw people walking inside with a coat and a hat and very fancy looking, that I can still see their faces. So anyway, and then I keep looking outside, looking for the igloo, but there was no igloo there. They're all big building, beautiful building. So I said to my husband, maybe this is not Canada yet, because there's no igloo out there, no little house, ice house. So okay, so that's fine. And we did all the paperwork, and then no one told us that was Canada. They just say that's Vancouver. So okay, so we got all the paperwork, immigrant paperwork done there and everything. So now we transfer from Vancouver. We sleep over there night, and then the next day we go over to Montreal. So once again, I'm looking for the igloo house to see where the igloo house looked like, and again I didn't see any. So now I'm such curious, wonder how much further that we have to go to find Canada. because according to my friend, Canada is a place where people cover their eye with everything except their tiny little eyes. So that's what I was looking for, right? So we get to Halifax International on December 23rd. That was 12 noon on December 23rd. Now my sponsor didn't got a notice from the immigration said your family will be here at 2:30. So they wasn't there in the airport yet. We were there early. So once again, I went and looked outside just the window, just to see if I can find the igloo. Still, I couldn't find any, and people still walking in, with the coat on. And now snow was about knee high now. About knee high now, so there's a lot of snow now. So I was getting a bit scared now, but still, I was looking for the igloo, but there wasn't any. So by about 1:30 or 2:00. Our sponsor finally came. No, but before we get there, we got to the airport there, and no one greeted us. So we just find ourselves a little bench. My husband and the kid sleep on them with another young man. I think he's Chinese. He can speak kind of broken Vietnamese. Anyway, he came with us. Because he turned around and asked me, can I speak English? I said, no. So I said, what about you? Can you? He said, no. I said, oh gosh, and no one here is going to look for us. So I keep looking for anybody who come for us. No one came. And I wait there, and I sit there and wait, and then sometimes I just so tired, I kind of drifted for maybe 5 or 10 minutes, and then I woke up. And we wait. It seemed like forever. So finally, I couldn't wait any longer. So I got those paper we got it from Halifax International, and not Halifax, Vancouver Airport there, with the 4 pictures of us. That was our landed immigrant paper. So I took those papers and I walk around and asking people to help. And I keep asking people because I have no English. So I keep saying, this. And people keep saying, no. And then they walk away. Now I'm getting very worried now and scared because I don't know what's going on. So I saw a guy with a uniform, which is the security guy. So I come and I touch him and I told him, and he read the paper. He said, oh, you want me to call your sponsor? Sponsor? I said, sponsor? Sponsor, yes, sponsor. He said, okay, I'll call your sponsor. So somehow he did get in touch with them. And then he came back. I don't remember he gave me back the paper, but he came back and he said, your sponsor will come here in 2 hours to pick you up. So we're sitting there and wait, and finally they did. They did come. Reverend Bill Dye, and Fred Ramsey, and Mrs. What's it called? Gascon, I think. Gascon, I think that was her last name. Anyway, they came in and greeted us. And then they said, do you have any luggage? I didn't have any luggage. I just have a tiny little bag. You know the bag that they give you rice in it? I just sewed them into a tiny little bags, and all I have in there was just one pair of shorts from each of my boys, and my husband's pair of shorts. That's it. That's all we have. From the refugee camp to here, we don't have anything. So that's where my life started from there. No English. Even though I learned in refugee camp, I was very good. But I came here because of the different accents. I couldn't understand what people were saying. And my sponsor was, they was very welcoming. They would go on and on, ask this and that, but I couldn't understand what they were saying. Everything they said, I could say yes. Yes. Because that's how we've been taught in the refugee camp. When you come to the new land and you meet your sponsor, anything they ask you, if you don't understand, just say yes. don't say no, because if you say no, people think you are ungrateful for what they do. So that's why we keep saying yes, and I don't even know what they said, but I keep saying yes, yeah, yeah.
How long did you live with your sponsor?
I didn't live with them. They rented a one-bedroom apartment right above Bill store. The downstairs is a store. They selling clothing and all different things. And upstairs they have a couple of apartments up there. So that's where I was. Because we came so quickly, they said they didn't have time to find us 2 bedrooms. So they only found 1 bedroom. And so anyway, they got in there. Oh, and come with our sponsor, there was a guy named Hugh, Hieu. He's our translator. Anyway, he came with us. He came with us that time there. So we came to our apartment, and when we get to the apartment, they already have a Christmas tree, all kind of gifts underneath them. But our translator didn't tell us that was our apartment, so we thought we would live in somebody else's house because everything was already there. So we thought with somebody else's house, we just kind of stay there for now. So when we go to bed, we sleep right on top of the blanket because we didn't want people to know that we would sleep in their bed. And the next morning, we make sure that it was nice and stretchy out so people don't know that we was lay in their bed, right? We didn't know that was our apartment. He didn't tell us. And anyway, when we get there, our sponsor already have the dining room table with 4 huge big turkeys and mashed potatoes and salads and you name it, everything is there. But that's the first time I ever see the bird that big. I didn't know how to eat them. It's just new to us. We never had mashed potato, gravy. What is that? You know, we were born and raised with rice and our food. And so all the stuff that they have in there was kind of new to us. But anyway, so we got there around 2:30 in the afternoon, which is about midnight in refugee camp now. So we was very exhausted now. We're tired. We're just so tired. Anyway, our sponsor were there. They talked. They say a few things, but I couldn't understand a word what they said. I think I kind of half sleep and half there. I was so exhausted. Anyway, so I don't remember when they left, but anyway, and then we should all go to bed because we were so tired. Of course, in the next weeks, when people awake, we sleep, and when we sleep, they awake because the time changed, right? Because I remember Bill Dye came and visited us a couple times, but we were all in bed. We were all sleeping, and he came and then he left. Because I heard somebody calling our name, but I couldn't open my eye. We were so tired that we just, anyway, and then he just take off. Bill Dye is the Reverend. He's the one who initiative to bring us over here. He's the one who make the application to bring us. So that was Bill Dye. Wonderful man.
How long does it take for you and your family to adjust to life in Canada?
Oh, how long? It took us a while. Well, I mean, when the very next day when we came, there were a couple of kids come over and knock on our door because they want to play with my boys. So somehow the kid talking to the boys, and I don't know if the boy understand or not, but they could say, yeah, sure, yeah. So I say to my husband, oh, good thing that we have the boy with us. At least they can translate it because I think they understand English well. So I asked my nephew, I said, well, what did the other boy say to you? I don't know, Mom. I said, but you just talk to them. Didn't you just say yes to them? Yeah. But what did you say yes at? I don't know. I said, oh my gosh. So they were talking to somebody, he said yes, and he didn't even know what he was saying yes for. But that's the way it is, right? Somehow kids communicated somehow with each other and they play, but they don't understand each other. Anyway, but so we came there on the 23rd. So during the week there was nobody came, so we didn't have any lesson at all. But I believe in the middle of January, that's when we started taking lessons. Now our sponsor have volunteer people because in Mahom Bay we are the only Vietnamese family there, so they don't have classroom like in the city they have. So they have 6 volunteers come to our house to teach us 1 hour. So I remember Monday was Vicky Lowe. Vicky Lowe was teaching on Monday. And then on Tuesday was Gina Bennett. Wednesday is Fat Ramsey. Thursday is Hilda Burgoyne. That's right. Friday is Pat Steele. And Saturday is Dave Toms. So those 6 days there, that's we have people come and teach us 1 hour, and then they give us those little book, the children book for us to read. So I did. They give me the books and I read them, and I remember the teacher kept saying, "Oh, you read beautiful. Did you understand what you said?" No, I don't even know what did I read, but they keep saying beautiful, but I didn't have a clue. What was it? But anyway, that's how it is. But for some reason, I was very, I adapted very quickly with the language. Anything that I heard, I pick up very quickly. It's very easy. It come to me very easy, which is very surprising because you remember now, English was my worst subject when I was in my homeland. I was terrible. Doesn't matter how much I try, I could not comprehend the skill at all whatsoever. But when I come here, no problem. Whatever I heard, I got them very quickly. But that's how we learn English. We don't and also during the day I teach myself by listening to the radio. So I always have the radio on. Doesn't matter what channel, the radio on. I don't understand a word what the radio said, but I'm trying to get familiar with the noise, with the pronunciations. So that's how I taught myself to listen to the language. But my teacher, my 6 teacher, they're wonderful. They are so good. The only thing is, Hilda Burgoyne, Vicky Lowe, she's from Scotland. So when the book, the same book that I read to other teacher, like for example, I said, the tomato are so ripe, and she would say, no, honey, don't say tomato, it's tomato. The tomato are so ripe. Oh, okay. So I said, okay, tomatoes are so ripe. Of course, when Hilda Burgoyne, she's a teacher in English in grade 8. So when I read it, the same book, I read it to her, I said, the tomatoes are so ripe. She said, there's no such thing as tomato, honey. It's tomato. The tomatoes are so ripe. And the potatoes are delicious to eat. But Vicky said it's tomato. It's potato. It's not potato. So that just between those two that I have such a hard time. So finally I said to myself, okay. So Vicky want me to read the tomato. So when Vicky come, I said tomato are so ripe. Make her happy, and the potato are delicious. She's happy at camper. But when Hilda Burgoyne, then I have to say tomato and she's very proper English. She will not allow me to say, I'll come with you. No, I will come with you. But there's no such thing as I'll come with you. She won't allow me to do that. She said, you have to learn how to speak proper English, honey. So I have to very easy to adapt all that differences between Vicky belonging, and even Fred. Fred is also Scotland, but Fred lived in Canada for so long, so he's kind of easygoing. So whatever I say, he's okay with that. He won't correct me. But just between, like Vicky Laws and Hilda Burgoyne, that I have to kind of keep in mind. And okay, one called tomato and the other one called tomato, and okay. So it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy, but anyway.
Speaking of not being for not being easy, what was the most difficult moment that you experienced during your first year of integration?
Well, the difficult moment was when I gave birth to my baby girl. So this is August the 14th. That's when my daughter was born, 1982. Now, so I was only in the country for what, 8 months? Eight and a half months. So my English is not the greatest. Even though I try, it's still very broken. But anyway, so I have my daughters in the Lunenburg Hospital. During the 9 months that I was carrying her, because of the worry, because of the well, I can't say the lack of money, because the church would give us $75 a week for groceries, and I would go in the shop for $35. I would manage to save $40. I would save $40 to put in there just for the another day. So let's go back to the most difficult time it was. So we came here on the 23rd December in 1981, and as you know, that our new year will be the second weeks of February. So in February, my husband said to me, "I'd like to send something home to our parents as a New Year gift. Do we have any money at all?" So I would lift up the what you call the mattress, and underneath there I have money that people give me. Remember all that Christmas card that they gave me? They put me $5, $10. I put it all in there. So now I take them all and I count it out. So I have $404. So I said to my husband, we can send it 200 for your family and 200 to my family. So he said, okay, that's a good idea. I don't know how much would that make, but anyway, to me, that's just a little something. So I went to the bank. And I brought with me my address, where my mother and father lived. And I don't know what did I tell them, but somehow the money did went to them, but in their dollar, in Vietnamese dong. And I remember it was $234,000, which is a lot of money. It's almost like $5 million here. It's a lot of money. Because a month later, I got a letter from my father. He said to me, honey, Mom and I want to thank you for your help. I know it's very hard for you to do it, but I know you help. And just think of this. Our family, just picture this. Our family lived in the desert for many, many, many years. And there wasn't a drop of rain during those years. And suddenly, the rain had come down like dog and cat. And that's the help that you have helped my family. And I'm so grateful for that. And when I read that letter, I was crying. I wasn't crying because I don't have any money, but I will cry because it's just, that's exactly what I would want. I want to help my family, and I finally did it. I was so overwhelming with happiness that I finally have a chance to help my parents. Like $234,000, that's a loss of money. I mean, it would take me at least, 10 years to work and just work and save and just give it to them. 10 years. And suddenly I sent it one time. That the amount of money that come out that much. But of course, right after I left the bank, I came home. Reverend Dai came. For some reason, Reverend Dai know that I just was there at the bank and sent the money. So Reverend Dai came. First he said hello, and I said hello, how are you? And anyway, he said fine, thank you. And then he said, did you go to the bank today? Did you go to the bank? So at that time, I still tried to translate it, what he was just telling me, go to the bank. It took me a minute, and then I said, go to the bank. Yes, I go to the bank today. And then he said, did you send money away? I said to him, yes. I send money to my mother and father. Why? Why did you do that? I said, because my mother and father are very poor and they need help. And he looked at me, and now his face all red now. He looked at me and he said, you know, why did you do that? You are so poor. Honey, you are the poorest among the poor. Why did you take your money and send it away? Well, you know, now I still don't know what did I do wrong, but I think I said to my husband, I don't know what did we do wrong, but I think he's mad at us because his face getting red and red, and I don't know what it is. And I said to him, but my parents very poor. And I want to tell more, but I don't have the language enough to tell them that I am poor. Yes, I know I am poor. God knows I'm poor. But my parents need help, and I have to help them. And his face again, he said, you know, you have to save money for your baby. By that time, I was 3 months pregnant with my daughter. And I think in his mind, he thinks that somebody taking advantage of us. That's why I sent the money. But no, it wasn't that. It was part of our duty to help our parents. And I did it. I did it with love. Nobody forcing us. I did it because that's part of our tradition. We have to help, especially with the new year. It's a gift from the children to their parents. That's part of our tradition. And I'm fulfilled that tradition to help my parents. And I was so happy, but when I see him so mad, he looked mad, but I didn't know what did I do. I didn't know what I did wrong. And anyway, he looked so frustrated. And I know he is, but I just don't know what to tell him. I just don't know what did I do wrong. I sincerely don't know. And he sit there and he talk, he go on and says more things, but I still just don't know what did he say. But I know he was mad because his face getting red and red and red, and then he stormed out the door and he walked away. Now I'm so worried now. I said to him, I said to my husband, I don't know what did we do wrong. I think he's mad at us. But what did we do wrong? I don't know. So I live in fear for those couple of days, thinking that they're not going to look after us no more. But then Thursday came. Mrs. Dowse, Heather Dowse, she's bring the money. As her job, part of her job is every Thursday, she bring the little envelope with the cash in there, $75, to give it to me so I can go to buy groceries. So she came and she gave her the money. So I said to my husband, maybe they will give us 1 more week. But then what happened after that? We don't know. So I didn't come out loud enough to say it. But I was, inside of me, I was worried, right? Worried. But I didn't know what did I do wrong. That's the funny part. I didn't know what did I do wrong. So anyway, then week go by, continue, Mrs. Dow still come. Anyway, it took a while, but then he came back. He didn't mention anything about that. So it took us years later. Finally, he came to me, and then I invited him for dinner. So he came, and then he said to me, he said, honey, I'm so ashamed of myself. I said, ashamed of yourself? Why, sir? He said, because you remember the time that you went to the bank, you sent money home to your parents? I said, oh, yes. Yes, I remember. I know you were mad at us. What did we do wrong? He said, you didn't do anything wrong, honey. That's the funny part. You didn't do anything wrong. I was wrong. I was mad at you for this wonderful thing that you done to your parent, but I didn't know. I thought somebody took advantage of you. And you sent all the money home to your parents. I was mad at you for no reason. I was so ashamed of myself. So he said he went to the library and he searched into some books I get about our cultures. And then he finally realized that was part of our cultures. So he said, I went home and I told my children, I said, you don't have to look very far to learn the lesson. Look at those poor people, the immigrant Richard bottom over here. Look at them. They are the poorest among the poor, but look at them. They still think of their parents during the time like this, when they have no money. And whatever they say, they send it home to their parents. Anyway, he said, I was so ashamed of myself, but I couldn't bring myself to apologize. I said to him, you have nothing to apologize. You don't know. You don't know our culture. I was worried that I did something wrong that this upset you. But I didn't know what did I do wrong because I didn't do anything. I thought I just sent money home to my parents. I would feel of joy that I helped my parents. But in the same token, I didn't know what did I do to upset him. So that was the first time. That's what I would live in fear. And then the second time was the time I gave birth to my daughter. So we went there. So during that time there, that 9 months, I only gained 13 pounds because, money is hard. So I'm trying to do the best I can to stress out the little money we have. I still have to save the money for the rainy day because that's how I've been brought up. Always save the money for the rainy day. So I still, $75. It's come to the last 7 months, the 7 months that my pregnancy, my doctor told my sponsor that she's getting very small. She's too weak. Her baby is maybe no more than 1.5 pounds. The baby is very small. She's lack of nutrition. She should get more help. So now the church, instead of $75, they give us $90. But again, I still only spend $40. I save the other for the rainy days. I can't. I just have to because I have my parents that I still have to support. Anyway, 13 pounds. So I gave birth to my daughter. She was 7'8". Believe it or not, she was a huge baby. She was a big baby. It's all baby. So, and that was my first baby. But anyway, the third day that I was in the hospital, my husband came and visited, and he said to me, you should check with the doctors. The baby's skin seemed a little bit yellow. Maybe she's sick. So Dr. Steve. So I said to the doctor next day when he came visit, I told him, and he looked at the baby, and he looked at me. He said, no, your skin is yellow too. And so the baby, no, you're fine, no problem. So I said, okay. So I checked the doctor, it's fine. So a week went by. So this is the 5 days now. So that was Friday. I was supposed to wait for my husband to come to pick me up at 5:30 after work. So at 4 o'clock, there was a specialist from here, from the Halifax, come down there once a month to look to everything else. And I was in my room, and my room was right across from the nursery, so I can see all the children, all the incubator on the other side. And I got myself ready then. My bag's already packed, everything, waiting for my husband to come and pick it up. And I saw the doctor come in. Anyway, the doctor just walked past by my daughter's bed there, and she saw my daughter. And then suddenly she pointed, and then suddenly there was chaos in there. People just running back and forth. I was standing there, and I didn't know what's going on, but I know there was something wrong in that nursery there, but I didn't know what's going on. I was scared. I wasn't scared for me. I was scared for somebody baby in there. I don't know who that is. But anyway, the doctor running back and forth, nurses running back and forth, and then suddenly one nurse come to me and said, we have to take you to ambulance. So she get the little chair, put me in there so I can sit in there. And then in less than a couple of minutes, the ambulance came. And then the nurse called my sponsor, Arthur Wood. We call her Grandmother Wood. Anyway, and then Grandmother Wood could say something to me, but by then my head is all fuzzled. I couldn't understand what's going on. What happened? What's going on? So anyway, and Mrs. Wood just say, the baby's sick, honey. The baby's sick. We have to take the baby to emergency. Oh my God. I didn't know what's going on with my baby girl. I was so scared. I said, Grandma, help me. What's going on? Anyways, so the nurse came, and then anyway, the emergency came, and they all shipped me to the ambulance, there. So we would sit there, and in the ambulance there, the nurse kept checking on her, on her breathing and all that, with her vow and everything all going on there. So I keep looking at the baby, and I said, what's going on? And in my head, I keep thinking, what am I going to tell my husband that my baby's dead? What's going on with her? I was just so confused. I don't know what's going on. So anyway, it wouldn't happen that her jaundice was so high that any minute we can lose her. But I didn't know what's going on. And of course, because with the language, it's just so confused. So the emergency took us to the IWK on the 9th floor. So they took us upstairs, and right away they stripped her naked and put her in the incubator with all the lights in there, because it was emergency. Because the doctor said if another 2 hours later she could be dead. She was really, really yellow. So I was there, and when I left, my bag was there. I didn't have any changing clothes. I was just whatever I have with me, which I have a dress on, and anyway, what's going on. I was so worried. So I was there, stand there at the window, keep looking at the incubator, and all I did was cry because I just wasn't going on. What's going on with me? So, and I keep wanting to go in to feed her because I worried that she's going to hungry. The nurse said, no, you can't go in. She can't be get out. You have to be in there. We have to save her. So the nurse gave her the little bottle and said, pump the milk out so I can feed her. But she have to stay in there. She can't get out. And every hour or so, they come and check on her blood, and they keep poke on her, and then she cry. And of course, she cried, and I cried. Anyway, it was. So finally, there was a little room right next to the nursery there. So one of the nurses told me, let's go in there, lay down, because you're still very weak right now. Let's go in and lay down. So there was a bed in there. So I went in there and go lay down there. They forgot about me in there. They didn't know I was in there. So I didn't have any lunch. I never even fed supper. So then next morning, Mr. Dai called. Of course, Mr. Dai called the nurse station. So the nurse, that's when they realized that I was there. I was in that room. So they came knock on the doors and get me out. So they were all to say to me that Mr. Dai called. I didn't hear Mr. All I heard is die. Of course, I thought the baby died. So I cried. I said, of course, he said, no, Mr. Dai. And of course, I keep thinking the baby died. No, the baby's fine. Mr. Dai called. So Mr. Dai called me, and first thing he said, how are you, honey? I said, I'm okay, but the baby's sick. He said, I know, but the doctor is going to do the best he can. Did you have any breakfast? I said, no. He said, did you have any supper last night? No. He said, what time did you came here? I said, I was here at about noon hour. He said, did they feed you lunch? No. Oh my gosh. He said, give me the phone to the nurse. And I don't know what this he said, but anyway, all I heard the nurse say, I'm sorry. We didn't know she was here. I'm sorry. And anyway, they apologized. And right after that, 2 or 3 nurses come over and then they take me and free me. But anyway, but at the time, I need some clothes changing because I was wet like crazy and I didn't have anything. So anyway, but after that, Fred come up and visit, and then he bought me some clothes and all that stuff. But that was petrified. It's the first time being a mother. You know, you don't know going on. So they finally got a translator come in and help me out, explaining things for me to make me feel better. So anyway, and then they finally let me take the baby out and feed the baby and then put him back there. But every time I do that, I usually put her sideways, just in case when she vomits, at least it come out that way so it won't go back to there and to her nose and suffocated her. That's how I've been taught at home by my mother. So that's what I did. But the nurse wouldn't allow it. No. Every time I do that, they keep flipping her up front like this, and I'm trying to tell the nurse that's not good for the baby, but they won't listen. They keep doing that. And it's just, anyway, it's such a fight. So finally, they have a translator come in, and I have to explain to the translator. I want the baby flip sideways, or at least flip her down and put her face down this way. So when she vomits, the milk will come out this way. It won't come back and suffocate her. Anyway, at that time, they said there wasn't a law doing that, so they wouldn't allow, but they did. They did agree to turn sideways for me. So, anyway, so we were there for 3 days, and she did feel better after that, and then I was ready to home, but it was a nightmare, because not knowing anything, not knowing what's going to happen, it was petrified. And I never wish that on any mother. Anybody, it could be my worst enemy, I would never wish that on them, because that was petrifying me. It was so scary, and you feel so helpless. You don't know what to do, right? And no language. It was awful. But anyway.
During that time, did you, after this, did you also be able to find work as well after being pregnant?
Yes.
Sorry, after giving birth.
Well, doing birth, I mean, in Mahone Bay, it's a very small little town. So even my husband too, he worked 6 months and lay off 6 months. And I can only find work for 4 months and then lay off and then get an employment. So we were there for about 3 years like that. And then I said to my husband, this is not the life that we want it to be, because, for us to be doing this, we'll never make, how much longer are we going to wait before we can dream of the house, doing something a little more affordable for the kid. I said, I need to work full time. I need to find something. So we have a friend who worked up here. Anyway, I talked to him and he said, well, there was a custodian job in Halifax Shopping Center. Do you think your husband can do it? I said, sure, sure he can do it. So they took him up there for an interview, and right away they got accepted. So he moving up. But at that time, we didn't have no place to stay yet. So the kid and I were staying in Mahone Bay, and he coming back and forth every couple of weeks, 2 weeks he coming home. He's staying at our friend's house for 2 weeks, and then he coming home for a weekend. But after a couple of times like that, my daughter now, as a baby, she's getting nervous with him. She doesn't know him, who doesn't know the father anymore. So he wouldn't let him hold him and, hold her at all. So my husband said, no, I can't live like that. Not, my daughter wouldn't even let me hold her. No, so you have to move it up here. So I'm moving up and leave the boy there with our neighbor, because the boys still have school in Mahone Bay School. So one of our neighbors said, let them stay with us. We have 2 boys here and they all go to school together. So I'll look after them for you during 3 months. So the boys stayed there. And then we went up to the city, and I did find a job. I work at they call it the chambermaid, working in one of the Halifax hotel here, full time. So after that, we found the apartment at the Brunswick Tower, not very far from here, and then that's when we moved the boys up, and now.
How do you feel about your? Sorry about the delay. Sorry, you want to add something more?
Well, thinking of moving up to the city, that's another fear for us too, because we don't know anybody in the city. And we talked to our sponsor, and Arthur Wood is the one who said, don't move up there, honey. Don't go up there, because those people up there are very mean. But I said to Arthur Wood, I said, Grandma, we didn't do anything to them. Why would they be mean to us? I don't know, honey, but city people are very mean. Of course, we're talking to somebody who never leaves the town, don't even know what the city looked like, and that's what she said. So, but I said to my husband, it doesn't matter. We still have to leave, because work 6 months, lay off 6 months. Even though during the 6 months that my husband lay off, he still find odd and end job to do, like doing the lawns and fixing the chicken coop or stuff like that for people around to get extra money. But that's still not the life that we want. We want to work full time, right? And anyway, so we decided to move up to the city, and so we did. And I think now, think back, I think we did the right things. That there's much more opportunity up here than the little town in Mahone Bay can give us.
After 40 years, how do you feel about the life that you and your family made right here in Canada?
Well, after all the obstacles, after all the difficulties that we endured during the 39 years, if I often say to my husband, if we have to roll the clam back, I would do the same. I would do all over again in a second. I wouldn't hesitate it. To do that, and I think overall, picking Canada as a country, I think that was the best decision we ever made. Even though from the beginning, it was the unknown that would kind of frighten me, because you don't know what is the outcome. But now, after being here for these years, I wouldn't change one bit. I wouldn't change the thing at all. And because of that, I think my children and the boys that we brought them up have a better life than if we ever, if we didn't take that chance. I don't think my children would have the life that they would have right now. Like I say before, now that my daughter is in 38 years old and she's in psychology, so she's in all that field there. So she's also getting involved with the immigrant in New Brunswick. So often when she deal with them, she would kind of reflection back to me, and she would call me and say, "Mom, when you first came, did you go through with the emotion of homesickness and loneliness?" I said, "Sure." "And did anybody help you?" "No." I mean, people like to help, but because of the communication, the language barrier, they can't. So we just have to make do. We just have to make do what we have, and life have to go on as normal. As much normal as it can be, but it's not easy. It's nothing ever easy. But I said, it's going through all that difficult. I think it makes us stronger. It's give me a better look in life. So now, with anything that's come before me now, it doesn't matter how difficult it is, it doesn't faze me, because I know if I can go through with the 39 years that I have went through, nothing fazes me anymore. It's nothing would fear me, and I hope that I can instill that in my children, because I do tell them, there will be, there will be a time in your life that the hard decision have to be made. But I said, when I would decide to leave, I think to leave my homeland, to leave my mother and father house, to leave there, I wasn't worried about me as going to be die on that boat. But I keep thinking, if I make it, I'm going to have a chance to help my parents. And if God bless me with any children, my children's life, my children's future will be better than me. And that's what is all worthwhile for me. That's what is, no matter how difficult it is, it's well worth it. And now it's true. I mean, I said, if you were home right now, doesn't matter how smart you are, doesn't matter how educated you are, you still have to walk behind a man. And you can't be somebody that you wanted to be because you are a girl. And no, not here in Canada. If you're smart enough and if you put your mind to it, you can be anybody you want to be. You can be the prime minister of this wonderful country if you want it to be. But I said, just remember, the opportunity is endless here. And so I'm no regret at all whatsoever.
Do you have some general thoughts about Canada's humanitarian reaction to the refugee crisis?
Well, I know that we have helped quite a bit. We do have, we have helped quite a lot of them. I don't keep track of all that there, but I know them that for the last there with the Syrian, that we helped them there. I know we did the best we can, and so it's even in the church that I'm involved in there too, that we did the best we can. But it also too, as immigrant myself, I know how difficult it is. But I mean, just like anything else, we have to make do. We cannot expect people to kind of give us the thing that we want. Sometimes you just have to make the best of it, right? Just make the best of it and teach your children to be good people, to be productive person. And that's all I ever want for my kid. I said, I never wish that I could have, my children would be somebody important, somebody's successful. I said, as long as you are a good, decent human being, I said, that's all I want. That's all I ever want from my kid. Doesn't matter, if you be a bum, be a best bum. I said, that's all it is. You don't have to be, some Mr. Important or Mrs. Important. Be the best you can for whatever God gave you. And that's all there is.
Is there also, what can the future Canadian generation can learn from your personal experience? Can you tell us about that?
Oh, learning from me, I don't know if I have anything to teach them. But I don't know. I sincerely don't know what do I have anything to teach anybody. To be honest with you, all I have is just to teach my children. I often talk my children in life. There's a lot of there will be a time that's difficult decision. There will be the time that you have to go through with things that you don't expect. For example, discrimination. Just because such and such a person who discrimination against you doesn't mean everybody discrimination against you. There's a lot more nice people, wonderful people are willing to lend a hand to help you. So you have to take the good and the bad and kind of mix it up and try to make the best of it. But I said, it's just that's the way life is, honey. That's the way it is. It's just, I mean, God knows. I never. That's one thing I know about. I never have anybody discrimination me until I come to Canada. Until I come to the city. That's when I realized that people actually hated me because of my color. only one or two, not all the people. But in the same token, there are a lot more people who love me just the way I am. I didn't have to, just the way I am. I don't have to be, kind. I don't have to give them anything. It's just the way I am that people love me. They're willing to lend me a hand. Whatever I ask of them for advice, for guidance, they're more than happy to help me. So at first, when I first experienced that kind of discrimination, it hurt me because I growing up, I have friends who are, the father is American and the mother is a Vietnamese. So she have dark hair but blue eyes, beautiful blue eyes and white skin. I often go home and told my mother, I said, I wish I could be like her, with the blue eye and the white skin. And then my mother never tell me the difference. All she said is that God made all of us different. We all have, each and every one of us have our own beauty. So appreciate whatever God give you. But she never told me different. So therefore we grow up, I didn't even know that her father would different than her mother. I didn't even know that. You know how stupid I was? But that doesn't change anything. She's still my friend. We're still playing. We fight sometimes, just like all kids do. We fight sometimes, but we're friends again in the next 5 minutes. Until I come here, and then I experience that. So at first, when I first experienced it, it's really painful. It's really hurt. It's really painful for me. Because I keep asking myself, what did I do? What did I do for her not to like me? But I don't have to do anything. She doesn't like me because of the way I smile. She doesn't like me because of the way I talk. She said, I have a funny, excuse me, I have a funny accent. I don't know, just one of those things that people I don't like you. But at first it's hurt, but now I come to the term and said, well, I can't change them. I can't change them. I have to accept the way she is, and that's okay. That's okay. If you don't like me, that's okay. Then I stay away from, you don't have to talk to me if you don't want to. That's okay. I can learn to accept it, but that doesn't make it right, though. I always taught my kids that doesn't make it right. It never makes it right for you to dislike the person because of their skin, because of their accent, because of where they come from, or because, no. If you don't like somebody, you have to have a better excuse than that. But I can only teach my kid. I can't teach anybody else. And my grandchildren, I'm going to determine to teach them the same way as I taught my kid. If they don't like somebody, they have the better excuse than somebody who come from a different religions, different colors, different eyes color, different hairdo. No. That's not good enough. That's not good enough for me. So that's all it is.
Any positive thoughts in the end to conclude?
Well, I want to take this opportunity to thank you, Canada, to thank you, the government, and to thank you, Canadian, to open arm to take us in, to help us from the beginning, from the time we first got here. I couldn't find a better sponsor than the St. James Anglican Church in Mohon Bay. I could not find a better church, the most wonderful people in the whole universe. Wonderful people, so helpful, so loving, so kind to me and my family, and to Canada to give us the opportunity to come here to have a better life for me and my family. And I'm forever grateful for that. And I thank you.
And how would you describe Canada in one word?
In one word, awesome. Just awesome. Yeah. Can't find you. Like I say, I have no regrets. And if I have to do all over again, Canada, Nova Scotia, Mohon Bay, still be the place that I would pick all over again. 39 years later. No regret.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, my dear.
Thank you so much for sharing your story, and I know that it's really hard and heavy for you to talk about your personal experience, and I want to give you a thumbs up for being so courageous and coming out here share your time with us. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, my dear.